Imagine standing in the heart of the Red Square in mid-January. The temperature plunges to 30 degrees below zero. The Siberian wind doesn't just bite your face. It feels like thousands of needles piercing your skin, announcing general winter. Here in Moscow, the cold is not just a weather condition. It is an ancient historical foe that became a loyal ally. However, a new enemy has joined this frostan, invisible one sneaking through bank accounts, store shelves, and smartphone screens. It is the economic siege that the world thought would suffocate the pulse of this resilient city. As you gaze at the colorful domes of St. Basil's Cathedral, looking like candy dusted with powdered sugar, you wonder, how does the heart of this massive city keep beating despite all this pressure? How does a Russian citizen smile while holding a local cup of coffee instead of the global brands that fled the country? What is happening behind the ancient walls of the Kremlin and in the alleys of working-class neighborhoods, far from the lights? Today, we dive deep into Moscow to reveal how Russians live between the hammer of the frost and the anvil of sanctions. Before we talk about numbers, we must first understand the Russian genes forged over centuries. For Muscovites, the cold is an annual test of strength. Life doesn't stop when the snow falls. It begins anew. Schools remain open even if temperatures drop, and people walk in frozen forests as if on a spring stroll. This exceptional toughness is the same grit Russians use today to handle the harshness of international politics. A Russian doesn't complain about the cold, they just wear warmer clothes. This mindset met sanctions with an icy stoicism. When major global companies exited the market, many thought Moscow would turn into a technological ghost town. But Russians utilized the infrastructure left behind to build local empires with new names and Russian logos. Store shelves didn't empty, they were filled with local alternatives or goods imported through parallel import routes. Behind the glass skyscrapers of Moscow City, Russian finance experts are waging a silent war to save the economy. After being expelled from SWIFT, the central bank imposed strict rules that kept the ruble from a free fall. Moscow turned to the east. China became the primary partner, and India the largest buyer of oil and gas. Trade routes shifted to the new Silk Road or the frozen Northern Sea route dominated by massive Russian icebreakers. However, the ordinary citizen will speak a different language about inflation and rising prices. Here the concept of the dacha emerges, the small country house where Russians grow vegetables and store them for winter. A Russian might forego a new iPhone, but they will never give up their stock of pickles and potatoes. Stranger still, Moscow today does not look like a besieged city. Luxury restaurants are packed with patrons. Major theaters like the Bolshoi sell out weeks in advance, and streets are decorated with dazzling lights. In the heart of this crisis, the Russian Silicon Valley was reborn. Tech companies worked to compensate for lost Western software. The Yandex app became the driver for everything from search and food delivery to self-driving cars. Moscow today is the world's largest laboratory for living under pressure in the 21st century. Moscow is a unique state of mind where the heights of luxury meet the depths of historical pain. The spirit that inhabits this land remains as steady as the snow on the peaks of Siberia. Is self-reliance enough to build a strong nation, or is isolation a slow death? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next journey to discover together what hides behind the maps.